This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Do you remember when shades and washes were the secret weapon in every miniature painter's arsenal? For over 30 years, these liquid miracles have been transforming our miniatures. But lately, with all the buzz of contrast and speed paints, it seems like our old friend the wash has been pushed to the back of the paint rack. Well, today we're bringing it back to rediscover the magic of the classic wash technique and even spice things up with a few tricks along the way. So what's this classic technique that we're revisiting? It's simple but powerful. Base coat, wash, and layering. It seems wild that 25 years of miniature painting can be boiled down to this one technique. Last week I showed you this Claw Lord on Gnaw Beast painted with just contrast paints and washes. But today, we're taking him to the next level using our classic approach. We started with a light brown base coat and a good layer of Reuchlin Flesh Shade over top. For the exposed skin, I used a light pink base coat with Carroburg Crimson Wash. So here's the thing with washes and shades. While they're great for shadows, they also darken everything else down. And seeing its contrast is the key to good miniatures, that's a bit of a problem. But that's where the magic of layering comes in. I'm grabbing my original pink and going to town on those high points of exposed skin and tail. Here's a little trick. Use your brush like it's a painting bullseye. Pull the color towards the center of each area you're highlighting. This creates a natural blending effect with our paints due to your layers being less opaque at the start of a stroke and more opaque at the end of your paint stroke. Now let's crank it up a notch. I'm mixing in a dab of white to create an even lighter pink. This goes on top of our base color, just smaller and higher up. It's like we're building a tiny, disgusting mountain range. But we can't forget we're working with Skaven here, so I'm adding a touch of green to my previous color and applying that to the pustules to give the skin an even more sickly look. Now let's tackle the fur. We're reapplying our base color to the raised edges in the face, focusing on the jowl or cheekbones as well as the furrowed eyebrows, really making that snarl pop. Then we're hitting the areas of fur that face upwards, even those little areas that only show through Clawlord's cape. But here's the cool part. By highlighting these specific areas on his sides, we're creating the illusion of deeper shadows in the areas we don't paint. So it's kind of like a 2-for-1 deal. The brighter you make one area, the darker the surrounding areas will appear. We all know contrast paints can be a pain in the butt, but creating a stunning website is easier than ever with Squarespace's new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally crafted layouts, customize them to reflect your style quickly, and utilize Squarespace's drag and drop fluid engine for enhanced control. Seamlessly integrate your social media and accelerate your growth with integrated, optimized SEO tools. Seriously, Squarespace Blueprint is magic, and I can only dream of army painting one day being this easy. So whether you're selling online courses, physical products, or just showing off your work, get back to painting and playing faster by using Squarespace. When you're ready to start, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use code LYLAMEV to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Alright, back to painting. Next, I'm adding in a little bit of bone color to increase the brightness, highlighting the same areas as before. Again, just smaller. Seriously, it's nearly impossible to have too much contrast. So if you feel like maybe you're going too light, the answer is probably not. Now here's where our tale takes an unexpected turn. While this is looking good so far, the skin and the fur of the red is just blending together to look like a sea of brown. I'm taking a thinned down black contrast paint and applying that to all the areas with sculpted fur. Using a contrast paint over my brown base coat will help the brown of the flat fur blend into the gray I plan to paint later on the textured fur. Not only is our contrast paste darkening down the recesses, but it's also acting as a bridge between our two colors. Again, I'm using the direction of my brush to pull the paint from the skin towards the end of the fur. Once that's dry, I'm going in with dark gray. I'm using the side of my brush, running it parallel to the textured fur, only hitting those raised edges. Oh, and see that? That's what happens when your paint is too wet. It seeps into the recesses. It's annoying, but I can fix it later. If you're ever having this issue, dab some of the paint off on a napkin off to the side and try again. Then I'm using an even lighter gray, very gently going over those raised edges again. This time I'm being super cautious, only hitting the very top edges and focusing more on the ends of the fur. Basically, we're mimicking how light hits fur. To bring it all together, I'm adding a coat of Nuln Oil right on top. Again, starting at the skin and pulling towards the fur. Our Nobbies is looking good so far. The highlights make him look so much more dimensional. And while he could be done here, you know me, I always go the extra mile. I love colorful shadows, especially purple. So I'm taking a thinned down purple speed paint and applying it to the chest and stomach of the Nobbeast, as well as the underside of his legs and the crevices of his face. Thinned down contrast paints are perfect for creating glazes to help create more interesting models. Then a quick interruption for green in the eyes and a touch on the warpstone. For some extra realism and grossness, I'm using a thinned red speed paint where the horns poke through the skin, on his wounds and joints to give the skin an irritated look. Adding this pop of red is by far my favorite thing to do. And there we have it. We've taken our Claw Lord from a basic paint job to something with real depth and character. It took a bit more time than just the wash and speed paints, but you can so tell the difference. Here's the thing, contrast speed paints and washes are great, especially when you're short on time. But there's something special about building up those layers and taking the time to add those interesting colors, highlights, shadows, textures, etc. to your miniature. So next time you're painting, why not dust off those washes or shades and give this classic technique another go? If you like what I do, you know the drill, like, comment, subscribe, buy my merchandise. You can support me in Patreon, or you can buy literally anything from the Amazon affiliate links down in my description box. It doesn't cost anything extra for you, it's just a little bit for me. Alright, thank you so much, I'll see you next time.